So we're walking through until what we're in right now is the sort of immersive spinning forest, which is made up of wind spinners that are just really sort of what we see in our sort of backyards. But the amazing thing about this sort of group of spinners is that you will find that some are made of, imagery is made of bullets, teardrops, guns, that's sort of mixed within this array of store-bought spinners. The idea is that it's sort of this sort of illusion, this sort of image of something other, this sort of otherly sort of world, but yet it's disrupted by these very harsh forms and images that we are sort of confronted with in our day-to-day existence, and particularly for me as a Black male. And so I'm sort of torn between beauty, and yet I'm sort of confused with what I'm sort of encountering. This sort of magical, this sort of fantastical sort of outburst, and yet I'm sort of burdened with this sort of dark side, this sort of sorrow, this sort of pain, this sort of imagery that I'm finding that we are experiencing in our own sort of backyards. We think that we can turn our backs to it, but in reality, we cannot. And so Until is very much about that. It's about this whole notion of guilty until proven innocent, or innocent until proven guilty. Here behind me is this installation titled Swallow. And it really is sort of looking at, for me, it's sort of looking into, it becomes this sort of vessel, this sort of space where it's sort of, the body sort of moves up through as this sort of, through this sort of passage. It's a new sort of way of thinking about the beaded tarps. The original beaded tarps really sort of came about thinking about these sort of camouflage, these sort of ways of, you know, how we sort of feel in trapped and sort of contained and sort of concealed, confined within space. And so it really is sort of coming out of that sort of narrative, all sort of constructed of pony beads. And so within these tarps, you'll find that it may be a landscape of rocks, or it could be camouflage, or it could be graffiti that's being sort of applied through the way in which the imagery is sort of built within the beaded structures. But it also sort of mimics the sort of central sort of core piece of the exhibition. Where we're at right now is, you know, I'm sort of standing underneath the crystal cloudscape, you know, with this Michael Brown incident that sort of transpired. I was sitting there and I was thinking, is there racism in heaven? And so that was the catalyst that sort of brought me to this place, this sort of galactica of sorts. It's sort of this object that tends to sort of be sort of hovering within this sort of vast piece of architecture. And as you look up, you'll find that you will see the sort of interior made up of Afghans that are sort of pieced together as one would sort of look at property or landscape. And it's sort of interesting, it's this sort of high art sort of merged with this low art sort of sensibilities, but I'm very interested in the dualities of the nature of these two sort of forms. And then as you sort of move around and about the piece, you'll find that you've got these four sort of ladder structures that allows you to sort of walk up and be into this typographical landscape. And living within the landscape are a sort of collection of lawn jockeys, iron lawn jockeys that I've collected all over the country. And as you travel up, you'll find that, you know, you come into this sort of amazing, sort of vast sort of array of lush sort of garden, sort of fantastical sort of landscape filled with birds, and then other sort of found and interesting sort of objects. In the installation Flow Blow, it's really an extension of my sort of work, I think, as a performance artist, and sort of these sort of things in which I sort of wear in performance. But I wanted to sort of create this sort of very formal sort of architectural sort of object that sort of stands within space. And so Flow Blow is really sort of, after coming through until the exhibition and the experience, it's really sort of a cleansing moment, a moment to sort of shed that experience. And so this actually is a kinetic piece, so it flows and blows as if it's a waterfall of sorts. And so it's really sort of about that. It's really about performance. It's about, again, providing this sort of removal, this sort of alternative sort of shedding of an experience from the Until sort of installation. And so I'm standing in front of Unarmed. And it really, for me, is the sort of, it is the sort of sculpture, it is the sort of monument that has been created for all of those unarmed black men that have been shot brutally by police. And so you'll find that the hand is in the position as if, you know, if I was holding a handgun. And so that is the gesture of the actual sort of hand itself. And so it's me sort of, again, sort of creating this sort of wreath that sort of really is paying sort of homage. And so for the viewers that come and experience Until, you know, it's very sort of, it's a heavy show. It's a lot to sort of take in. It's a lot to sort of reflect on. It's a lot of sort of emotion that I think is tied into the exhibition, and it's really sort of unfortunate that it's prevalent again yet right now. I'm not sure what each and every individual will take away from their experience here, but I am grateful to be here and to be able to bring it to any and every city to help sort of continue the conversation around gun violence, around inequality. And so I hope that it's an exhibition that forces you to sort of reflect, to think, to invite others to be a part of, and to change the way in which we sort of see ourselves in the world.